Good afternoon, Trader Tim from E-mini Mind, and we're doing a Monday market analysis. It's the 9th of August, 2021, and going into this morning, I was sort of had my eye very closely on the low of Friday because Friday we were able to break out of our little box that we'd been in for a week and a half or so. If I just kind of draw it somewhat like this, I won't include the tails there. I'll just include the bodies up here, where most of the trading took place. So then Friday, we have this little guy up here that kind of sticks out above the high, or above this box, the high of the box. Well, coming into today, the thought process being, well, if we break below Friday's low, we really weren't able to put in a strong trend day on Friday. Yeah, we made a new high, but there really wasn't a lot of follow through and a lot of buy in or chasing after we made the new high. I mean, we basically gapped up into the new high territory. So, what I noticed in the first couple, well, really with the first 15-minute candle, so here's that box. Go to the 15-minute chart here. This is Friday's price action. And look at the first 15-minute candle. It basically, I mean, things got a little wild, you could say, in the first 15 minutes, and then the rest of the day was just inside of that first 15-minute candle. We talk about the first 30-minute range and how when the first 30-minute range is very big. I mean, even look at Friday. Here's the first 30-minute candle. We spent the entire day inside of that range. And so when we have, a relatively large 30-minute range, 30-minute opening range, or if we just can't break out of the first 30-minute opening range, that's a really good sign that we're going to stay range bound for the rest of the day. If I go down to a 5-minute chart, one thing I do like to do is say, okay, well, here's our open, and if I just put on the first few minutes of the morning, this is like the first half hour, I can say, okay, well, 30 minutes have gone by, and what was the trend within that first 30 minutes? Well, this morning it was pretty clearly down. I could draw up a retracement like this from high to low, just basically the first two 5-minute candles. And that 61.8 did hold. That's what you see over here in the 512 tick chart. But we really weren't able to gain any follow through there either to the downside. So we opened up, we moved below Friday's low right here, and then we immediately rallied on this is the about 10 minutes into the open. We rallied. We did hold the 61.8 of the full halfway back of those first 15 minutes, but we couldn't roll over and make a new low. So what I did here, I drew up the full halfway back short, and this is about 15 minutes into the day. Then I drew up the opposing long to see where that would fall. So if I do that on the 512 tick chart, you can get a little bit better picture. And we came down and we pierced and we broke the 61.8 of the short. So at that point, I'm saying, okay, we broke the 61.8 of the long, the opposing long here. We held the 61.8 up here of the short. So we broke the long, thinking great. We have the potential to roll over, but we have to do it soon. Like, if the first 30 minutes go by and we can break out of the first 30 minutes and get some follow through, okay, great. Now we've got potential for a trend. But if 30 minutes go by, or in this case, we were only 15 minutes into the morning. So at this point in time, when we're trading at this halfway back, or even a little bit later, when we broke the opposing long setup, we still weren't to that half hour mark. So there was still potential for us to sell off, and the target would just be the other end of the range. You hear me talk about that a lot, especially in the Tuesday trading sessions, where if we're range bound and we're hanging out at the top of the range and we start to sell off or roll over, well, we're going to be targeting the bottom of the range. And if we're down at lows and we start to see some strength or we get a low ticket lows, okay, now we're going to target the top of the range. So we still had that potential in the morning. So I drew up the short like this. I put an order at 44.2250, but unfortunately it just came up, touched it, and it actually touched it twice, but I didn't get filled. And so then when we kind of sold off a little bit and broke this swing low, I pulled my order because we came up and touched it, and to me that was traded. I didn't get filled. We did end up coming a little bit higher, and then I would have been filled over here, and maybe could have got 3 points or 4 points out of the trade, but then that was it. I mean, we did not get any follow through to the downside, and so going back to that 15-minute chart, let's say, we just held the entire day within the first 15-minute range. So taking along, so if we get rid of some of these drawings here, we'll say, okay, well, we're still within the short at this point. So you can, even without drawing it up, you can kind of see that this 50% long does trade, and that would be on the 15-minute chart. It would look something like that. But to me, we're basically just moving sideways, kind of in the lower third of this range, and it's days like today where if you get overly aggressive, you can end up just taking a whole bunch of trades, breaking your daily loss limit rules, and just getting chopped to bits. So for me, keeping my eye on the larger retracements, so in this case, the 5-minute or the 15-minute chart, keeping my eye on, okay, the short is still active at that point. Help me, I guess, be patient today, and prevented me from taking any losing trades, but it also prevented me really from just kind of ended up sitting on my hands all of the morning session. So what is important about these days when we have inside day, just go sideways, inside day, is that the consolidation days are sort of needed to build the momentum. And now look what we have on the daily chart. We have this little hammer up here. We've got 2 days that we've spent above the little box here. And so tomorrow, that'd be Tuesday, if we can move above today's high, so today's high is a 44.32, Friday's high is a 33.25. If we can move above today's high, we should be able to get that decent trend day to work us up closer to this 44.50. The negative 23 on the daily chart is actually a 44.62. But even if we can just get to 44.50, that, especially if we have a gap up tomorrow morning, a gap up and go, if we got 2 of those in a row and hit this 44.62, then I would definitely be willing to put on a hedge and see if we can't get a little bit of a retraction back to this upward trend line here. But for the time being, we're just kind of in this holding pattern. And if we get a move above highs and we don't get immediate follow through, so like I'll be watching closely 44.32. If we jump to 44.32 and a quarter, and then boom, we're up at 44.34. Okay, any of those pullbacks are going to be buyable, especially if it's in the first 45 minutes of the day. If we gap up and go, it might be a little bit harder to get in. And then I guess the other scenario is if we gap down, or if we move below today's low, and decisively into this box, we do have the risk of coming back down to 40, what would be like a 43.82 to the bottom of the range. But then once again, watch for these little intraday reversals, these tails that are sticking down below the box, because you can get a low ticket lows. Caught one of those last week, where you're kind of catching the low of the day, and then you get that sharp move back up, and all of a sudden you're 20 points off lows. So keep an eye on the top and bottom of the prior box here, would be my suggestion. If you have questions, you can drop them below in the comments, and you can tune in tomorrow morning, Tuesday, doing a live trading session over at eminimind.com/VIP. And the last thing I'll mention is I did set up a Discord chat as part of the kind of the VIP area. If you want to get in on that, just shoot me an email, tim@eminimind.com. It's currently in beta and just kind of building that out and getting the conversation going. So I hope everyone has a great week of trading, and I'll talk to you all soon.